again to say thank you all for joining us, for your interest in work on conscientious objection and your interest in supporting and offering solidarity to conscientious objectors in Turkey. And finally, just to say, as we reflect on conscientious objection and we reflect on international solidarity, we are aware of the conflicts and tensions that we have been seeing in the news this last week in Colombia and in Israel, Palestine, and our thoughts and solidarity are with those organizations and those who are working for peace in those places as well as around the world. So thank you all very much for joining us.
So as we heard already from Semih and Laurel, our three organizations are engaged on conscientious objection. I will briefly introduce IFOR, and my colleagues will do likewise with their organizations. IFOR has been engaging in conscientious objection since its starting in 1914. And the first members were objectors to the World War I. And throughout the years, members and groups in different countries have been struggling to refuse to kill and to refuse to serve in the military service. In some countries, this struggle were able to succeed, and the recognition of the right was implemented. Unfortunately, as with the case of Turkey, some other countries around the world didn't recognize yet the rights, and those who refuse to serve in the military and to support the militarism worldwide are discriminated, threatened, and this is why international solidarity is vital for campaigning for conscientious objection. Particularly, IFOR current work on conscientious objection is about supporting objectors and organizations working on conscientious objection on the ground within the UN system. We usually prepare country-based reports for different bodies such as the Human Rights Council, and as the Universal Periodic Review and the Human Rights Committee. This is the way that we try to support and to assist those who are affected by the violation of this right. And we are very pleased for the opportunity we have today to hear from our colleagues and friends from Turkey, and to find new ways also to be supportive of their struggle. Their struggle is our struggle because it's a part of the worldwide struggle to change from a culture of violence to a culture of peace. Thank you very much. And I pass the floor to my colleagues.
So a few words from WRI then. WRI is a global anti-militarist and pacifist network founded in 1921. So we are celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. And for us, Turkey has been a particular focus for quite many years, starting from late 90s with solidarity campaigns with OSİ, Osman Murat Ülke. And our international network is very much aware of the militarist context in Turkey, as well as the persecutions conscientious objectors in Turkey are going through. So solidarity with conscientious objectors in Turkey, as well as campaigning for the recognition of conscientious objection and campaigning for peace more generally in Turkey has been WRI's part of work for quite many years. And more recently, we work closely with Vicdani Red Derneği, Conscientious Objection Association Turkey. And together with Vicdani Red Derneği and Connection EV from Germany, we focus on Turkey on this International Conscientious Objection Day. So I would like to share just a couple of links from our campaign we are doing an email action. Let me just post this in the chat box here, that we encourage our network to write to the Turkish embassies in their countries to urge Turkey to take steps on this issue, on the rights of conscientious objectors. And more generally, you can get information on our campaign on International Conscientious Objection Day on this link that I put on the chat box. And alongside this event, we are also releasing a publication together with Connection EV and Union Pacifist France, together with Conscientious Objectors in Exile, which will be available tomorrow and next week. I'm saying tomorrow and next week because it will be in 4 languages. So we could not get all of them at the same time. It will be in English, Turkish, German, and French. So just follow our website and social media. And also tomorrow, hopefully you will see lots of content on Turkey from our network on the International Conscientious Objection Day. Also, before we move on to the next speaker, I just want to say one note apart, like not directly related to the content of this webinar, but yeah, we found important to say that we are also aware these are intense times. We are very concerned following the updates from Palestine, Israel, as well as Colombia. And we have long been in touch with conscientious objectors and peace activists in these regions. So also let us share our solidarity with them before we start this event. So our first speaker will be Mina Yildran. Mina is a human rights law researcher focusing on freedom of thought, religion, and conscience. She is the director of the Norwegian Helsinki Committee's Freedom of Belief project. She's also a member of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights panel of experts on freedom of religion or belief. She is one of the co-authors of the report Conscientious Objection to Military Service in Turkey, which will be out very soon. And in this presentation, she will share from the findings of this report as well as their recommendations. Mina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. This is an international event, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to join you today. And many thanks to the organizers for inviting me to this really promising event. And as Semih mentioned, my presentation will focus on the not yet published, but almost there report, which we are hoping will be made public next week. That was initiated by the Association for Conscientious Objection in Turkey. And as Semih mentioned, I'm actually one of the co-authors. We drafted this report together with Hülya Üçpınar, whose expertise was extremely valuable for this report. And I understand I have only 12 minutes, so I will just start immediately and I will share my screen with you. This presentation will focus very briefly on international standards on conscientious objection to military service, but that will be very brief because I want to use my time to focus on the situation in Turkey. And I'll look at Turkey's international human rights obligations and national legal framework, and then look at how conscientious objectors are affected by the restrictions in Turkey or the non-recognition of this right, and look at some of the key findings of the report, and yeah, just present the recommendations. As I'm sure many of you know, the right to conscientious objection to military service has been recognized as a human right, but this recognition has been a progressive one. And it is protected under the right or the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, which is set out in the Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but also same article in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And of course, the European Convention on Human Rights protects this right under Article 9. Already early on, the Human Rights Committee, which has the authority to interpret the ICCPR, already in its general comment on Article 18, the committee had said that the covenant does not explicitly refer to a right to conscientious objection, but the committee believes that such a right can be derived from Article 18, in as much as this obligation to use lethal force may seriously conflict with the freedom of conscience and the right to manifest one's religion or belief. This was an early on interpretation, but the committee had a chance to evolve its interpretation, and in Yoon et al. Versus Republic of Korea, the Human Rights Committee considered the question whether the right to conscientious objection to military service was a right under Article 18, or whether such a claim could be made only in those states where such a right was recognized. But the committee considered the claims solely under Article 18 and found that in this case, the state had failed to show any disadvantage to itself if the applicant's rights to conscientious objection to military service was respected. So this was a very important opinion of the Human Rights Committee, and which was then also affirmed in a number of other opinions in communications coming from South Korea and also other countries, including Turkey. And with regard to the recognition of this right under the Council of Europe human rights system, this came a bit later. So the European Court of Human Rights followed the Human Rights Committee. We can definitely say that. Sorry. And in another important case, Bayatyan versus Armenia, the European Court of Human Rights recognized that any system that the ECHR held that a conscientious objector's failure to report for military service may be a manifestation of his religious beliefs, and his ensuing conviction for draft evasion may amount to an interference with his freedom to manifest his religion as guaranteed under Article 9.1. And this was the case of Jehovah's Witness. So it referred to religion, but later on in other cases, the European Court of Human Rights also recognized applications of pacifist and anti-militarist conscientious objectors. So also recognized the right based on philosophical views.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Mina, I think there's a slight problem with your microphone. Perhaps your body is touching the microphone and it's making this whooshing sound. Could you make sure you're not touching the microphone as you speak?
Okay, is this better?
Right now, yes, it happens sometimes, but it's...
Oh, right, okay. I'll try to be careful.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it's happening, but let's see.
Yeah,
Please,
okay.
Please warn me again if it continues. I'll try to change different things.
Sure,
okay.
sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries, sorry about that. So Turkey has significant international human rights obligations as a party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and its first protocol, and also the European Convention on Human Rights. And Turkey's non-recognition of the right to conscientious objection has been considered in periodic reports, in the consideration of the periodic reports under UN treaty bodies. and also the Universal Periodic Review. And in a communication, Atasoy and Sarkut versus Turkey, the Human Rights Committee held that Turkey violated Article 18. And also in opinions, the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention considered the cases of Ülke and Savda and issued its opinion. So Turkey has been the subject of a number of different UN human rights bodies. Under the Council of Europe, especially the Ülke group of cases, which relate to applications made by conscientious objectors of different backgrounds, so Jehovah's Witnesses, but also pacifist conscientious objectors. And the Council of Europe's Committee of Ministers considers all of these cases under Ülke group of cases under enhanced supervision. We might come back to this later. And the European Court of Human Rights has found, has 4 key findings in relation to these cases under Ülke group. First, it found that there's a lack of sufficient legal framework for those who refuse to wear uniform and or perform military service on grounds of conscience or religion, and the ensuing interminable series of prosecutions and convictions are disproportionate to the aim of ensuring the performance of military service. So this one relates more to Ülke, I suppose. And in the aggregate, the acts concerned constitute inhuman and degrading treatment within the meaning of Article 3. So there was a violation of Article 3. And the second key finding relates to lack of an effective and accessible procedure in Turkey, which would have enabled conscientious objectors to have established whether they were entitled to conscientious objection status, was a violation of Article 9. And thirdly, the system of compulsory military service in Turkey imposes on citizens an obligation which may have serious consequences for conscientious objectors. It does not allow any exemptions on grounds of conscience and gives rise to the imposition of heavy criminal penalties. Thus, the interference in question originates not only from the multiple convictions of the applicants, but also from the absence of an alternative service. And lastly, this relates to the cases of only some of the conscientious objectors. The trial and conviction of civilian conscientious objectors by military courts constitutes a violation of Article 6.1, so the right to fair trial. You can definitely read more details of these in the upcoming report. So briefly, let's look at the national legal framework. The Constitution protects the right to freedom of religion and conscience. And Article 72, which is a key article, refers to national service and says that national service is the right and duty of every Turk. And the manner in which this service shall be performed or considered as performed either in the armed forces or in public service shall be regulated by law. So as we can see, military service as such is not considered national service. So it refers also to public service. So under the Constitution, military service is not compulsory. And Article 10 protects equality before the law. And Article 90 is also quite important because it refers to the status of international human rights treaties. So where there is a conflict between a national provision in legislation, where this conflicts with international human rights treaties which Turkey has ratified, the human rights treaties will supersede. When we look at the national, when we look at the legislation, the law on conscription, which was actually relatively recently changed in 2019, refers to compulsory military service. And you will read in the report that it makes the military service considerably shorter, and also provides the shortened military service by payment. So this is often indicated by the national authorities as a solution to conscientious objectors. But of course, it doesn't provide an effective remedy to the plight of conscientious objectors. And then the military criminal code also provides very important provisions which actually constitute the basis of the many punitive measures that we will refer to. And under Article 45, there is a specific provision which says that actions based on conscience or religion may not be shown as an excuse for, and cannot be accepted as an excuse, and may not exempt one from ensuing punitive measures, which is contrary to Article 24 of the Constitution. So the law on conscription sets forth the manner in which evaders and deserters will be tracked and the administrative fines that are applicable to them. And once the administrative monetary fine is final, criminal proceedings are initiated under the military criminal law. So next, I will not try to explain this very complicated but perfect chart, which outlines how this system actually works, how the punitive measures work, and the different criminal procedure, and all the way to the European Court of Human Rights. Instead, I would like to share with you how this process actually impacts, has impacted one of the conscientious objectors, which the Association for Conscientious Objection interviewed. So KMD, a conscientious objector since 2018, is a journalist who frequently travels for work. And over the course of 2016 and 2021, he was apprehended on account of being a draft evader.
Mina, can you speak a little bit slower, because the interpretation cannot follow you, I guess.
Okay, sorry. I've already used more time than I'm allowed to. So he has been apprehended on account of being a draft evader approximately 50 times during travel for work or at work. And on 2 occasions, he was apprehended whilst staying at hotels. So he tries to refrain from staying at hotels as a result. He has been issued an administrative fine of 4,305 Turkish liras following an apprehension for being a draft evader in 2016. And then 11 criminal cases were initiated against him after the administrative monetary fines became final. He was acquitted on one of them in 2019. However, the prosecutor appealed against this verdict, and the case is still pending. And in another case, he was given 4 months imprisonment, but then this was converted to a judicial fine. And in the rest of the cases against him, so in the 9 out of 11, they are pending, and an individual application to the Constitutional Court is pending. So you see how this complex and ongoing process of punitive measures. There are also, so primarily the non-recognition of the right to conscientious objection to military service impacts one's right to freedom of thought and conscience and religion. But there are also other restrictions on other human rights. So the reports will provide the details for this, but I will just provide the headlines here. For example, participation in public affairs and the right to vote, because immediately when a conscientious objector is called for the military service and when they don't submit or when they become a deserter, their status in law changes, and suddenly, all of a sudden, they are an evader, a draft evader, or a deserter, and that changes how they can exercise other rights. So, for example, participation in public affairs and the right to vote, freedom of movement, the right to education, and opportunity to earn one's living. All of these rights can be restricted as a result. Oops. So some of the key findings of the report are that the national policy remains opposed to the recognition of the right to conscientious objection to military service. It is not on the agenda of the national authorities. And punitive measures continue. And the changes that have come mostly as a, well, probably attributable to the international human rights mechanisms and maybe more so to the European Court of Human Rights findings, only had impact on procedural issues. So the impact has been quite limited. And interference in a wide range of human rights continue. And international human rights mechanisms, they continue to be very important for the continued advocacy for freedom, for the right to conscientious objection to military service in Turkey, because we could also say, arguably, they are the ones.
Legally speaking, he has been a draft evader or bakaya, is in bakaya since 2018. So we got all this information in a way, like technical information from Mina, how things are working on a legal level. But we have Seyda, who is actually having the experience of being a conscientious objector in Turkey. So can you tell us your experience, Seyda, a bit about like being a conscientious objector in Turkey, and yeah, starting from 2009 maybe.
Merhabalar herkese.
Well, hello everyone. And I would like to thank Semih for his kind introduction and for the kind invitation. Before May the 15th, I have been able to come together with people who are struggling for peace, and I would like to thank all of you. Well, I was born in 1989 and I'm 32 years old, and as Semih has just said, I declared my conscientious objection in 2009 in December. That was that was just after an event which was organized at the university I was a student of. But actually, I was introduced to the conscientious objection much earlier when I was a high school student. I think it was in 2006, and I had read this piece on a newspaper about an ongoing persecution about this issue. And then I kept on reading on a conscientious objection, and I have tried to learn more about the experiences of conscientious objectors in Turkey. And when I was a university student later on, I wanted to declare my conscientious objection. I knew that I had to declare it I did not plan to do that in December 2009, but on that day, it was in a public space, and I declared my conscientious objection publicly. Of course, when you think about the legal repercussions of this, since I was a student, those individuals who are students in Turkey, even if they are at the age of military service, they are not called for military service before their studentships are ended. And we have this right to postpone our military service after graduation from university. And I've made use of this right, and I had a postponement for 2 years, and I got enrolled to a May program just for the purpose of postponing my military service. So that was another 1.5 years. This was in 2018 when I was a draft evader, and I had declared my conscientious objection. But when it comes to the practical results of this, I was somehow removed from them, and in my daily life, that was a kind of intellectual preparation for those days during which I will be using my conscientious objection as a framework. So as I was a draft evader, I was working for an association working for refugees, and that was mostly office work. I was not on the field, but I had many friends working on the field, working in refugee camps, for example. So during those years, I wanted to focus my attention on some field work, because I thought that office work was not good for me, and I wanted to do something active on the field. But as I was doing this, I had this position as a draft evader. So that was, if you like, I was an illegal person in Turkey. So I shared this with my managers at the association, and I told them I wanted to work on the field, but then I had this legal status as a draft evader. I was working for this association for which many people were working for, and it was 2017 and 2018 when most of us were targets. And that was not in the form of a conflict, but my managers have told me that it would not be appropriate for me to work on the field. So that was the first instance when I had faced a negative consequence of being a conscientious objector. So I quitted from the association in 2018. And as an independent individual without any records, and also I was exempt from the insurance rights the Turkish state bestowed to its citizens working legally. So that has been 3 years actually as a draft evader. So in 2018, in July, when I had my status as an illegal citizen, I started writing a blog just to keep record of my illegal status. Let me write it down on the chat box if you would like to follow, but I'm a lazy person, so my writings are only in Turkish, except one of them. But if you might be interested in it, you may perhaps use Google Translate and just have some idea about what I have gone through, because this is where I have shared my experiences. So during the time when I was a draft evader, the most significant experience I have had was, I mean, in my daily life, had been my confrontation with the police. As you know, in Turkey, the existence of the police forces on the street is very much felt by almost everyone, and you cannot miss it. And if you are using public transportation in a city like Istanbul, that means you are frequently confronted with police controls or inspections for criminal records. So as a drug waiter, when I had to come together with the police forces, I was asked to sign minutes, and I was resisting that. I didn't want to sign those documents as a conscientious objector. So that meant, if not violent, I had to explain myself to the police all the time. So that was a negative position to be in, because they were perceiving me as someone who had not good intentions for his country. But for 1.5 years, I kept doing this because I signed those documents as a conscientious objector, or I denied signing the documents.
Takdir edersiniz ki sıkıcı hale gelmeye başladı. Çünkü her seferinde sokaktaki polislerle
But after a while, as you can imagine, it became a bit troublesome, because it's not very positive to get into an argument with each police officer. And afterwards, if there will be a court case, I thought it was enough basis, all the papers that I had signed, that I was a conscientious objector. After a while, I thought it was just a loss of time, a waste of time. But the first 1 year, within 1 year, I was stopped by the police, usually on transportation, sometimes at hotel when I was traveling for work outside, or when I was traveling on the bus intercity, I was stopped. And I have signed or not signed, refrained from signing reports for 23 times. Mina had mentioned, when you sign these papers, you face fines. In February 2019, I was faced with a fine for over 4,000 liras. I objected twice and it was turned down. And after then, my lawyer friend Gökhan Soysal, who is also among the lawyers of the Conscientious Objectors Association, I made a personal, individual application to the the Constitutional Court. It has been over 1.5 years and still there's no result. I think the first application was 2014, and there must be maybe over 20, maybe 30. Gökhan may correct me if I'm wrong. None of them had, there are 47 applications. Thank you. By the way, in May 2018, when I knew I was going to be a draft evader. Before that, I made applications to Human Rights Committee of Turkish Parliament and 2 other authorities. I told them with a letter that I was conscientious objector and I was not going to fulfill my my service, and I said if I were to be offered an alternative service that I was going to evaluate this offer, but close to 3 years and still there are no answers to these about my legal situation. After February 2019, after these papers that were about the fines, I have signed many papers, but still there's no other fine that has been given to me. And after this fine, now there are penal court cases. But as Mina mentioned, about 3 years I've been living as a draft evader in Turkey, and I have only been face to face with one fine. But alongside that, the limitations, the restrictions that we have are not limited to this. And a draft evader or a deserter in our law, if you hire them as worker, it's a crime. So it's not really possible to work with Social Security. I could possibly be hired, but then maybe the people who hired me would face a fine. And because of the fine that has been completed, my economic situation is not like other people. In other situations, people who face these fines is that they may block your bank accounts since you haven't paid the fine until you pay the fine. Since I knew that, from the moment that I was a draft evader, I kept minimal amount of money in my accounts to my name. Right now, I'm using somebody else's account, and I receive my paycheck from that account. This actually prevents my traveling also indirectly, because when you go abroad you need a visa, and when we make a visa application, the authorities need to be to make sure that you're going to go back to your homeland, so they look at your financial records first. And since I don't have a paycheck on record, or since I don't have enough money on my accounts, in my bank accounts, that would satisfy these authorities, I usually have a problem receiving a visa. There has been an exception. I was invited to work in Germany with an official letter. I didn't face this problem, but if I were to go as a tourist individually, I could never get a visa. Practically, these are the problems that I have. I'm still working off the record, unrecorded way, and with the pandemic, the police checks were less, but now again I continue to sign papers at police stops. Right now, what I can think of in terms of my experiences are such. If there are questions, or if there are questions on other fronts, I'm ready to answer those.
Thank you very much, Seyda. It's very impressive to hear the personal experience, as we heard from Mina. All the legal frame of the situation of conscientious objection in Turkey, it's completely different than to hear what it actually means in the daily life of objectors. Thank you for being here, for being willing to share with all of us. I'm pleased to introduce to everyone also Merve Arkun from the local Conscientious Objection organization. I will give you a brief information about Merve. She declared her conscientious objection in 2011, but she has been familiar with the topic since 2009. And she has been involved with the Organization for Conscientious Objection in Turkey since its starting in 2013. She is very active. She is the coordinator of the current campaign, and she also represents the organization at the European Bureau for Conscientious Objection, and she is one of the vice presidents of this European organization. So thank you for being here with us, Merve, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Zaira. I am really happy to hear all of with you, and it's our pleasure to share our work and our experiences and the current situation in Turkey. I prepared the presentation, and thank you, Semih, for screen sharing for me. And today I am planning to talk about very short about the current situation of the conscientious objectors, because Mina had already shared this topic, and I want to share the details of our campaign, what did we do and what are we doing now and what are we going to do in the future. And I want to share our thoughts about the importance of international solidarity. So I want to start to talk on the question of what conscientious objectors are facing with in Turkey. As can be seen from the data that Mina already shared and the experiences of Seyda, the situation in Turkey is quite bad for conscientious objectors. The violation of the right to conscientious objection is a very important part of the human rights violation chain in Turkey. Turkey, you already know that Turkey is the only member of the Council of Europe that has not recognized the conscientious objection as a human right. So as a result of this situation, there are many sanctions that conscientious objectors are facing. Semih, can you please change? Okay, thank you. I want to continue with the legal situation of the conscientious objectors and the sanctions they faced. You already know that the objectors are criminalized as evaders and draft evaders in Turkey. Because of this situation, they are facing with administrative monetary fines and criminal cases and repetitive judgments. I want to talk very short about the process that Seyda already shared his experiences. Once conscientious objectors encounter a ID control in anywhere by police or gendarmerie, they can see that this person is a draft evader or evader. In this point, police or gendarmerie tell this person to sign an official record which states that this person should surrender to recruitment office in 15 days. But if the conscientious objectors doesn't surrender within 15 days, an administrative monetary fine given to him. The amount of the monetary fine is depends to duration of being a draft evader or evader. And after the 15th day, if the person does not surrender the recruitment office, the cycle starts at the beginning again. After this point, every administrative monetary fines means a new criminal case for this person. In shortly, this is an endless cycle for conscientious objectors in Turkey because, as Seyda already told you, you may encounter an ID control in anywhere in various conditions, like when you're walking on the streets, when you're traveling, when you want to stay in a hotel, or when you want to apply for a passport, you can encounter ID control in anywhere. So because of this situation, the conscientious objectors hesitate to be part of the economical, social, and the political life. I want to continue with the civil debt very shortly. Semih, can you please check again? Thank you so much. Yeah, you can change this. I already told. Yes. The situation of conscientious objectors is defined as civil debt by European Court of Human Rights, as Mina already tell with you. There are mainly three sources of this condition. One is the prohibitions by law against objectors. According to law, conscientious objectors cannot work in either public or private sector legally. It's a crime to employ a draft evader or evaders. So most of the conscientious objectors or who don't serve the military service, forced to unemployed or forced to work uninsured, which is illegally in Turkey. And the second point is the repeated prosecutions and prison sentences. And the third point is the deprivation while avoiding new apprehensions. I am not going to deep in these topics because Mina shared, and we are going to share more detailed data with our report. So, Semih, we can change it again. I want to continue with our campaign, which is we are running since November. What is our focus point with the campaign? Our campaign based on the fact that the right to conscientious objection is not recognized as a human right in Turkey. With the campaign, we aim to make visible the consequences of being a conscientious objector in Turkey, the civil debt, and the various right violations subjected by conscientious objectors. And we also aim to raise awareness on CO rights and to ensure that these awful conditions are changed. With these aims, we started to run a very comprehensive campaign last November, providing legal support, making strategic litigation to the Constitutional Court, monitoring and reporting the conscientious objection rights in Turkey, lobbying with international mechanisms, and raising awareness on conscientious objection rights. What are the different steps of our campaign? I want to give a little summary about the different steps. Legal support and the strategic campaign is I think it's the most important part of our campaign because we aim to provide a sustainable legal support for conscientious objection, which is very important for us. Since the beginning of the campaign, we have provided legal support to 6 different conscientious objectors. All of these objectors are different part of the Turkey and they have different processes. With the lawyers that we work with in the proceedings of the conscientious objectors, we empathize that conscientious objection is a human right that is guaranteed by international human law and international conventions. And the strategic part of the campaign, we made individual applications for 3 conscientious objections to the Constitutional Court. We are planning to make more application on the duration of the campaign. We aim to put pressure by increase the existing number of the cases before the Constitutional Court. And the other step of the campaign is reporting, which is also very important too. There is 2 steps of reporting. One is periodic and one is general. Since the beginning of the campaign, we are publishing bulletins in every 2 months, conscientious objection bulletins. We started to monitor the conscientious objection rights in Turkey and the right violations that CEOs are facing with the project. In the beginning of the project, we have published an application form to identify and document the violations faced by people who have been subjected to compulsory military service. You can find the link of the bulletins in chat box. There is some statistics from the bulletins. Since the November, we have received multiple applications requesting information regarding on conscientious objection rights and conscription. There were 110 individuals in total who approached our association by email and requested information in different topics, like information about right to conscientious objection, information about restriction of education rights or freedom of travel, or confiscation of bank accounts, etc. And also, since November, 48 people has responded our form. The majority are not conscientious objectors, but they haven't declared yet conscientious objection, as we've seen. However, their answers show the diversity of the violations that conscientious objectors are facing. We are translating these bulletins into German and English, so you can read and also download these bulletins from our website, and you can reach the detailed data that we are collecting since November. This bulletins is important for us because these publications shows that this is not just a few people's problem. To insist not recognizing the conscientious objection rights is a prevalent right violation in Turkey. Other part of the reporting is general reporting. I am not going to too deep in this topic. This is our cover of the report, and we are going to publish as soon as possible. We hope. The report entitled Conscientious Objection to Military Service in Turkey is the first report in this area, which is very comprehensive. So we think that this report is really important for human rights defenders and other NGOs to reach the current data, reach the current information about conscientious objection rights in Turkey and what's happening in Turkey now, and how can other organizations support conscientious objectors in Turkey. So we think that this report will be a guideline to understand the situation and maybe to build new collaboration for the conscientious objectors in Turkey. And we are really glad to share this report today with you. We hope that this comprehensive report will be helpful all of us. And as Semih mentioned, we are going to upload this report our website and WRI and IFOR, maybe QUNO's website. So you can all download this report and reach the data and use it to support the objectors in Turkey. The other part of the campaign is lobbying. By the lobbying part of the campaign, we are aiming to make the situation of conscientious objectors in Turkey on the agenda of international mechanisms, to urge them to issue recommendations in order to create more pressure on Turkish government. We have already started to organize our lobbying activities. We are going to have different meetings with different mechanisms of Council of Europe, European Union, and United Nations. In lobbying part of the campaign, we are open any collaboration. So if you have any idea, any suggestion, if you have any idea on lobbying, please reach to us, contact with us, so maybe we can work together, we can act together and support together the conscientious objectors in Turkey. The last part of the campaign is making videos. We made 5 different videos with objectors. We made interviews them who are coming from different backgrounds. CEOs who are forced to work uninsured, who faces everlasting criminal cases, who can't vote, who can't travel, etc. These videos also show the variety and the frequency of the right violations that conscientious objectors are facing. We had already published 4 videos in our website. You can reach them in our website, YouTube channel, and social media accounts. All videos are English subtitled, so you can understand the situation from their from themselves. Now we are going to share 2 short pieces with you. One is from interview with Kamil Murat Demir that we already published that video, and the other one is interview with Osman Murat Ülke, who is one of the conscientious objectors in Turkey, and we are going to publish the interview with Osman Murat Ülke tomorrow, so you can reach the full version of the video tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Merve, for your presentation, and also thank you to Semih for sharing the slides with all of us. We have
sorry, Zaira. Merve, I think you were planning to show the video, right? 1 minute.
Yes.
Okay.
I have something to say very short after the videos.
Do you? Which one should I show? Both of them, or I think both of them you said, right?
If we have time, yes.
Okay, all right. Let me. Oh.
Ceza davaları zaten vicdan eğitimi açıkladıktan sonra daha da arttı. Yaklaşık 10-11 dava olması lazım. Arka arkaya davalar açılıyor. Birinden ceza aldım, birinden beraat ettim. Beraat ettikten sonra dava açılmaz demişti mahkemede katip. Mahkeme kalemi. Arkasından tekrar dava açıp yani adliyeden çıktım. Ertesi gün gece haber dönüşünde geceyi gözaltında geçirdim yine.
Just a second. Sharing the other one. Oh no.
Yıllarca sürekli bu tür ayarlamalar yapmak zorunda kalmak, işte kendine ait bir banka hesabının olmaması ya da onu çok sınırlı kullanmak, sadece faturalar için kullanmak, kendi evinin tapusuna sahip olamamak, işte çocuğun doğduğunda onu kendi üzerine bile geçirememek ve benzeri, işte bir yerde kalacağım zaman iş gereği bile olsa işte orada kayıtlı olmamam, şehirler arası yolculuğu mümkünse yapmamam, sadece bisikletle yapmam uzun yolculukları, yurt dışına gitmek için pasaporta sahip olamamam, olsam bile vize alamayacak olmam. Bütün bunlar beni özellikle 30'lu yaşlarımda 2000'lerde çok yoğun etkiledi.
Thank you so much, Semih. As I told you, we are going to publish the full version of the interview with Osman Murat Ülke. Please follow our accounts and learn the story of Osman Murat Ülke, which is very crucial and important for the conscientious objection movement in Turkey, and which is very effective, I think. And the last part of my presentation is about the international solidarity, which is the topic of the webinar today. It's really important for us to share our work and the situation in Turkey in this webinar today. As most of you know that it's impossible to list the human rights violation in Turkey because there is a human rights violation chain and it's getting longer and longer day by day. So in this dark picture, sometimes violation of the right to conscientious objection can't be seen, but it's related with the political atmosphere of this geography, we know that. What we are thinking about the international solidarity is the answer of today, I think. Maybe you realize that our focus point of the lobbying part in the campaign is not national mechanism, it's international mechanisms. Because we planned it this way because sometimes we can't move or we can't act in national ground. As you can get detailed information from the report and as you already heard from Seyda's experiences, there is no any responses from the Constitutional Court of the applications on conscientious objection right more than 10 years, nearly 10 years, not more than, but nearly 10 years. And it's also difficult for us to find tribal way to lobby with national grounds on conscientious objection right. It's related with the political atmosphere and it's related with the thoughts of the government, we think. So international solidarity, it's really important for us because you already know that the pressure on civil society in Turkey getting bigger and bigger, and the oppression is getting higher. So sometimes we feel stuck, sometimes we feel we can't move anymore and we don't know what are we going to do now. In this point, the international solidarity helps us to think about other ways, what we can do, how we can act together, if we create other ways or not. And also the power of the solidarity is encouraging us. So this is the importance of the Solidarity for Conscientious Association for Conscientious Objection. And we are really thankful to our friends who organized this webinar and who gives us opportunity to share our work and the awful situation in Turkey. And thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you, Merve. Thank you very much for the presentation, but also for the hard work of the association.
I forgot something I want to add. We also especially want to thank you, our friends from Connection EV, because they are also part of the video part of the campaign. They also make an interview with an objector from Turkey who is in exile in Germany now. You can also reach Beran Mehmet İşçi's story, which is very interesting, from Connection EV's website and our official website. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for this note too.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all speakers who contributed to this event, to Mina, to Merve, to Onur, and to Seyda for your very valuable contributions. And as WRI, we will continue to stand in solidarity with conscientious objectors in Turkey, as well as elsewhere. And no, we are aware this is very tough, what is happening, but like what conscientious objectors are going through, but also obviously, which we can't emphasize enough, how much we appreciate this resistance, like conscientious objectors stand despite all this oppression. So I don't know, Zaira, would you like to add anything else?
Yes, I would like to thank once more everyone for participating, and a special thank you for the interpreters for the hard work they have been doing. So thank you to each one of you individually. Thanks to them, we have been able to understand and to listen to all these presentation and testimonies. Once more, international solidarity is vital, as Merve highlighted and showed to us. So let's stand with everyone, with all the objectors, and in particular, there is a special need for objectors in Turkey for what they are currently facing. Many of us will be engaging in initiatives tomorrow, and this is because there is the International Day, and there is the need to raise public awareness, and this is an opportunity to do so. So thank you very much, and IFOR, WRI, and QUNO are really pleased that you have been participating to this webinar. We will continue with this webinar, so keep in touch, and you will receive more news on our website. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye to everyone.
Thanks, everyone.